So there's a lot of these in civilian hands now, and people are enjoying them. Remember, American made.
Published like a big manifesto of talking about
abortions you motherfuckers had.
Well, that's what they're telling us. I don't know the facts because I hadn't seen them.
We are done with your bullshit.
Then don't have an opinion.
Put a manifesto together.
The dude literally published a white supremacist manifesto. He says in the manifesto that he's shooting people because of white genocide. It's not a fucking conspiracy.
It's troubled kids. I'm not a big gamer, but I mean, I've seen a lot of video games, and there's a lot of them that are just shoot them up, blow them up, you know. It doesn't look real.
I've stated my own position on this several times, even yesterday. Background checks, sure, they're cool. You need them run everywhere, on every transaction. You don't just run them only in shops.
With our ARs, we're citizens. Without them, we'll be slaves. They're not assault weapons. They're sporting weapons. It's necessary to protect my family.
Wait, which one is it? Is it sport? Is it your self-defense? Those aren't the same things.
Do you think there are so many mass shootings?
Because that's what's on the agenda for the left. They want to take guns away from law.
Your explanation for why there's so many mass shootings is implying that it serves the leftist agenda. So what, they're false flag attacks? Is the fucking Democrat Party arming and sending off those violent shooters for mass killings? What the
Protesters pushed up against barricades, keeping them away from the NRA meeting site. It's tense. The pain of a meeting site.
Personal rocket launchers, when?
It's tense. The pain of a national tragedy does not bridge divides here.
When was a shooter a member of the NRA? I want you to tell me. You can't, because it never happened and it never will. You're an idiot.
I believe you have the right to own a firearm, but I do not believe you should be 18 years old to be able to have an AR. When you use an AR, you're going to kill people. You don't go hunting for deer with an AR.
When the founding fathers defined,
I'm sure we can find someone somewhere who goes hunting with a fucking AR. I use my RPG for hunting. It's ethical, okay?
freedom, they didn't think that ARs were going to be part of it.
Or black people.
Yeah.
Or people of color.
People of color.
And how about freedom? They want to talk about how we shouldn't ban guns because that's hurting our freedom. How about abortion? We're forcing women to have kids.
I say you have an Antifa flag.
Okay, real quick though, this is something that actually bothers me. People make those arguments pretty often of like, hey, you're so for those rights, why are you against abortion? Or the different not totally whataboutisms, it's about consistency checking. But the thing that bothers me is it also implies that you would be willing to make a compromise there, right? As give away your guns and we stop pushing for abortion. I don't think most people making this argument would actually be willing to make that compromise at all. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would suspect most people on the left would actually prefer us to have guns and have abortion than the other way around, right? If you're gonna ask this question, I feel like you have to connect the dots and be like, is this actually what I'm arguing for?
Right here. How would you describe yourself politically?
I'd say I'm a socialist. So I believe in taxing the church, taxing the rich, abolish the police. Police are supposed to protect us in schools, right? But in Uvalde, they didn't. When I get older, old enough, 21, I'm gonna own a firearm because I don't trust police to solve my cases.
I know he's just a young guy. He's being a bit dumb. He's expressing himself weirdly. You don't buy a gun because police can't solve your cases. A gun is not a detective tool. It doesn't let you find clues. It's not gonna help you investigate. Sure, he's talking about self-defense.
Arm the proletariat. Just arm the proletariat to ensure that they're able to defend themselves.
Well, my sign asks a pretty obvious question that I think everybody should be asking. This is the right time to have a celebration of guns right on the heels of more than a dozen kids and teachers getting murdered a few days ago in Uvalde. This is ridiculous.
I hate to be the devil's advocate here, but it is a bad time, but it's not like they planned around the shooting. They just had it scheduled. They probably had it scheduled for a whole fucking year, honestly.
Ridiculous that we're the only country that has to deal with this, and that's what today is all about, is voicing our righteous outrage at our elected officials and the people at the NRA who decided to celebrate guns with blood.
And I'm not unsympathetic. The NRA is responsible for blocking a lot of normal common sense gun restriction or background check, etc. laws. The NRA is fucked up and they're right to protest it. Yeah, exactly. It's not like they saw the shooting and thought, fuck it, let's have a gun conference. Let's do it. Yo, Mary, book us some gun dealers. Come on.
We've just learned the death toll is up to 19 children and 2 school employees gunned down during their last week of school.
The shooter legally purchased 2 AR variant long guns within a week of his 18th birthday.
Dude up there is tossing magazines out to the crowd. Give me one.
What?
You got it.
Yo, isn't that heavy? You're tossing the magazine and 30 rounds at people in a crowd? And it's not gonna hurt you but that bad, but if I'm not paying attention and that thing hits me in the head, it's fucking dangerous.
We're here. We're in Houston.
They're wearing like a sock or something.
NRA.
Dude, haven't you seen the movies, like the prison movies where people put like a couple batteries in a sock and use it to beat someone up? Shit still hurts, yeah.
Shooting an RPG is the ultimate Vegas hooker experience. It seems like a great idea at the time. It's really, really expensive, and it's over way too fast. An RPG is a
Oh god.
rocket-propelled grenade. So anything that launches that, they either call an RPG for short or a rocket launcher. Within the past couple of months, Airtronic
Yeah, he uses it on every customer.
Older models through Gunbroker. So there's a lot of these in civilian hands now, and people are enjoying them. Remember, American made.
You know how a lot of Second Amendment, pro-Second Amendment people, they believe that they can mount an insurrection against the government to defend against tyranny. And usually the counter-argument is, you know, a bunch of ARs and pistols and shotguns and like rifles aren't going to cut it. They aren't going to cut it against tanks. They aren't going to cut it against a trained military, fully equipped, etc., etc. Guerrilla war does work, yeah, to a certain extent. Now, if we start adding RPGs and like elaborate explosives to the mix, you're starting to have a pretty you got a lot of shit. I gotta concede that. I don't know how many people actually fucking own RPGs and a stock of rockets, because like I imagine that shit's expensive.
Big NRA proponent. I'm a life member. The timing sucks, but I mean, it is what it is. This doesn't have anything. There's no connection between this and what happened in Uvalde. There just isn't.
What do you think that we can do to stop mass shootings like that?
I think it goes back to the basic family. I'm 66 years old. When I was in high school, we used to take our shotguns to high school to show our coaches if we got a new shotgun. Then we'd go bird hunting after school. There was never a school shooting when I was in high school. What's different from then to now? What's changed?
What do you think changed?
It's the family. Look how many single parent families there are. Just go to Chicago. Look at the amount of crime in Chicago. I mean, they have 40, 50 gun shootings a weekend.
I guess the difference would be that, like, in Chicago, a lot of that violence is gang-related. We're talking about kind of lone wolf shooters walking into an elementary school with an AR-15.
It's troubled kids. I'm not a big gamer, but, I mean, I've seen a lot of video games, and there's a lot of them that are just shoot them up, blow them up, you know. It doesn't look real.
Yeah. So how do you think rebuild the American family?
That's got to be done at the street level. Single parents are running 30, 40% of the households. It takes 2 people to raise a kid.
Why does anybody need to have, you know, an AR-15?
Guns have been around here since the beginning of America. So
back in the day, it was like muskets and stuff.
It doesn't matter. You know, nowhere in the Constitution does say.
You have to stop this right now. You have to go across the street, please.
What do you think about like increased background checks?
I think the background checks is adequate now.
Hey, right there, exit, please, across the street.
What do you think could have been done to prevent what happened in Uvalde a few days ago?
We could have banned assault weapons 20 years ago.
The murder at Uvalde, Texas will tell everyone that we need to have gun under control. We don't take guns away from people, but we have to have a proper background check.
So I've stated my own position on this several times. Even yesterday, I've restated it again. Background checks, sure, they're cool. You need them run everywhere on every transaction. You don't just run them only in shops. You need a fucking registry. Like that's when I say that the NRA blocked important stuff, prevents the ATF from having a centralized centralized digital registry of gun owners and the serial numbers corresponding to their guns. It's not rocket science to expect a country to have that. Yeah, sure. It makes it easier for the government to take away your guns because they know exactly how many guns. Yeah. That's why the NRA opposed it. Now, should we legislate according to what a hypothetical tyrannical government will do, or should we legislate according to what makes sense for the current society and the current government. Sometimes one, sometimes the other, but in this specific case, I do prefer erring on the side of safety. I was reminded of this paper. I was horrified reading this a few years back. Paper advocating for RPGs by the leader of a white nationalist organization. It's all about secession, to these guys at least. League of the South, a bazooka in every pot. Blessed be the Lord, my strength who teaches my hands to war and my fingers to fight. Psalm 144:1. We're going to talk about, well, more than white nationalism. We're going to talk about death cult after this, by the way. Well, maybe not right after this, but tonight. I just mind you getting the guns without a fucking full-on background check and without having the guns registered. And also the open carry bullshit and concealed carry bullshit.
That is the only way we can avoid these kind of murders of children. You cannot say, well, we hire police or these are mental people. Abbott, he said that there's a mental problems with the United States.
Anybody who shoots somebody else has a mental health challenge.
What about the rest of the world? Do they have mental problems too? No, they don't, right? So that's why we are here.
It's better that the government knows that people do have ARs. Governments have killed 260 million people in the 20th century. You know, Stalin, Mao, whatever. People say, oh, that'll never happen here. We all live in a bubble. We are the most privileged country on earth. From the homeless guys here to fucking Bill Gates. Ah, crap, where's I going with this? What was I gonna say? Okay, governments, this, that. Okay.
I don't think homeless guys in the US, without access to, you know, a home, healthcare, I don't think they feel very privileged, sir. I question your judgment on those things.
You know who EDP is?
Yeah.
I'm the guy that caught him.
Wait, you're the guy who caught EDP?
Yeah.
So how do you think that we can prevent mass shootings like the one that occurred a couple days ago?
The reality is, there's Salvador Ramos is out there. The reality is, there's Peyton, whatever the hell his name was, Adam Lanzas, yada yada. People will be uncomfortable if there's teachers armed in schools.
Yeah, we need more guns.
Okay, there we go. Teachers, arm the teachers discourse. Let's fucking go.
Around the schools. We protect our president with guns. We protect our congressmen with guns. We protect our governors with guns, our celebrities, sporting events, jewelry stores, banks. And then we protect our children with a sign that says, this is a gun-free zone.
I see that you have Rosa Parks here. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I met Rosa Parks. She's anti-abortion. She's a good friend to MLK. He's anti-abortion.
Why are you bringing in abortion in this? Holy shit. I guess he means relatively compared to someone in Libya or something. Dude, there are plenty of people in Libya who live better than a homeless person in, like, New York. There are plenty of people who have roofs over their heads in the rest of the world, even if they're in developing countries.
He was anti-abortion, so case closed.
I see that you have 2 Mike Lindell MyPillows attached to your belt loops on either side.
Yeah, Mike's a friend of mine. I've only met him once in person, but he knows what I've been doing for him.
Mike Lindell.
Sounds like a good friend.
Yeah, he's a good friend, and this is a little bit more firm, and they're the best pillows I've ever had.
Which one do you prefer?
I prefer the softer one, the medium fill. The standard's a little tough on my neck.
Did you enjoy his pillows prior to his endorsement of Donald Trump?
Well, they've been around for a long time. I couldn't afford them. He cut the price in half now. Here's a tip. Don't order them through the mail, because they come wrapped up with no box. Go to Walmart, get them in a box. The box is going to be worth more than the pillow.
Why?
Because it's classic. I'm getting ready to go over to the communists that are packing guns.
Do you think it's smart to engage with them?
I screamed profanity at them and it made them angry. They can't tolerate freedom of speech, but they expect me to tolerate them threatening me.
What is your favorite piece of profanity to hurl at an Antifa BLM soldier?
Fat baby butcher bitches. Fat baby butcher bitches.
Okay.
Well, you're gonna go do it again?
Yeah, I'm gonna go do it again right now.
The best sponsorship ever. A homeless person in the US versus a homeless person in Libya? Maybe.
See you over there, man. Don't let those Antifa communist bastards take your pillows away. Godspeed, soldier. You're doing the right thing.
I had 150 of them screaming in my face on the 14th of this month. I met Rosa Parks. I don't give a fuck.
You don't
Yeah.
shit. You don't either. Look
You're
at
a
you,
dumbass, and you're proud of your stupidity.
You fucking fascist piece of shit.
I have to admit, I don't give a fuck to this guy like talking about me and Rosa Parks is a pretty appropriate answer. It doesn't fucking matter. Stealing his cardboard sign is not very cool. Run with the pillows, my friend. No, not the rare special edition pillow box.
Do you think there's any type of common ground that could be reached?
Yeah, there's a little give. I think they could change some of the requirements to own an AR. You know, back in the old days, we didn't have the same type of weapons. So they could change the law and make it 21.
Do you think that kid should have been able to buy an AR?
I don't know. Somebody worked on the kid's brain. They worked on that one in Buffalo also. He drove 300 miles to shoot black people at a store. He probably could have drove a few miles within the city he was already in.
I guess the main difference is like the
Hey, what does somebody worked on that kid's brain even mean? What are you thinking?
dude in Buffalo was motivated by like racial hatred, whereas it seems like the guy.
It was only racial hatred because the guy was white.
I think he had the N-word written on the gun, and he published like a big manifesto talking about.
Abortions, you motherfuckers had.
Well, that's what they're telling us.
Fuck
you.
I
don't know the facts because I hadn't seen them.
We are done with your bullshit.
Then don't have an opinion.
Put a manifesto together.
The dude literally published a white supremacist manifesto.
Chuck Schumer didn't want us to pass laws.
He literally says in the manifesto that he's shooting people because of white genocide. It's not a fucking conspiracy.
Schools. He doesn't want cops in schools. He doesn't want to harden the target. He wants your kids to be killed. That's why the Democrats advocate for murdering children in the womb. They don't care about life. The NRA has a fucking thing to do with it. You idiot. When did the NRA kill somebody? You're an idiot. I know who you are. Dude, what the heck?
This is a huge problem when it comes to those discussions in the US. It sucks. The convention sucks. The NRA sucks. But the people there, they, just as the libs on the other side don't give a shit that this guy met Rosa Parks, because who gives a fuck? The guys on the NRA side don't give a shit that the convention that was planned for who knows how long happens to be right after a shooting. It doesn't actually matter. And when you make bad arguments like that to someone on the other side, the reality is you're just reinforcing their position. I see this and I just feel really sad. Probably yelling at each other across the street with megaphones is not the best context for political discourse. Perhaps it wouldn't have gotten anywhere regardless. This is just not the way.
I want to talk to you. Yes.
Oh yeah, cool. So how do you feel about what's going on right now with them over there?
I don't not like them. They're human beings. I love everybody. Okay, they have souls.
You're an idiot.
Everybody.
But it's just sad because they're confused. Yeah. The problem isn't the guns. The problem is a people problem, okay? Ever since 1973, we legalized abortion. I think that was a real downfall in American society because we've murdered millions of children. Why is it okay to murder children in the womb?
What the fuck? Dude, what the flying fuck? Abortion causes school shootings. New narrative just dropped. Abortion causes school fucking shootings. Let's go. All right, we're learning something new. The NRA people aren't making good arguments either. No, they are not. One of them started having like a decent argument, but this guy, this is like out of left field. I was not expecting that. That's why when I want to change someone's mind, I sit them down, ask them why they feel that way. And that's a great start to a conversation. If you can take the time to do that, that's probably like the best start for those kinds of conversations.
But not okay to murder kids in school. I know this isn't your usual thing. You usually just let people talk. But I want to listen to what you think.
Well, I'm curious if you think there's any common ground that can be found between...
See, that's a very complicated thing to talk about. And I think there is room for that, okay? I think we can have mental health evaluations. And I think, what was it, Dad? What was the statistics like for the adult population?
It's about 25% of the adult population in America suffer from some form of mental illness.
Yeah. I think people in general should be evaluated and should have help. Whenever you go into a gun store, you have to fill out a paperwork called a 4473 and say, hey, they're going to run a background check. This 4473, this document, it's a document to look at your background, okay? It's not going to know the heart of man. We need to better keep up with the health of our people because we're suffering people, okay? We have more access to hardcore porn on the internet.
Okay, are you actually going to, vote for reinforcing Medicaid? Are you?
Whittling down the psyche of humans and literally making us just sick people. You can't legislate morality, and you can't tell what you are really going to do. But at the end of the day, we live in a free society, and we have these rights and privileges, and that's what happens. You know, they don't have school shootings in China because you can't own firearms in China.
Do you know that the most popular porn category in America
They don't have school shootings in France, and you can own guns in France, okay?
right now is incest?
I had no idea, no.
Isn't that insane?
Why? Why is that the case?
Tonight, leggings, shapewear, and handbags came down the runway. But this is no ordinary fashion show.
Discreetly designed so no one can tell that you have a weapon.
No.
The concealed carry fashion show targets what the NRA calls its fastest growing demographic, women.
Wait, dude. You can totally tell she has the gun there. How is this concealed? You can totally, okay. The only situation where you don't see she has a fucking gun under her armpit is if you're like, I respect all women. I'm not gonna look at her booba. Look at her in the eyes. That's the only situation. Which, like, look at it. It's fucking sticking out. Name looks at boobas confirmed. I do. Okay, they're just you can just show up on the runway and like pull a gun out your ass and they'll be like, nice. Yo, she ain't packing just a gun. Okay, we got one gun. And what is this? Is this like a tonfa? I don't understand it. She got two guns, by the way. Two guns, dual wield. She's ready for some John Wick action. It's a knife. Yeah, no, it's a knife. It's a knife. Oh, time for jokes is over. That's the reality.
All right, we just arrived in Uvalde, Texas, which, as most people know, is the site of the most recent mass shooting that took place around a week ago, where 19 students and 2 teachers were killed at Robb Elementary School. This is the Wendy's where the shooter worked. Apparently he used to work the graveyard shift at the drive-through window until about 2.5 weeks ago. He quit abruptly once he had saved up about $4,000, which was enough to buy 2 assault rifles, ammunition, and a bulletproof vest. This is the store where the school shooter picked up the guns and ammunition that he used in the shooting. He actually ordered the guns online, but this was like a transfer store where they shipped it here and then he picked it up. This is where the shooter drove his pickup truck through a guardrail and crashed out, like right here. Got out of the car, went over to the funeral home here, shot at a few people, but then didn't hit anybody. Then he walked over into this building, and that was the site of all this.
You go to sleep seeing their faces. You wake up seeing their faces. What can we tell them? We don't want to scare them. And the other poor little innocents that didn't make it. You know, their parents were going crazy looking for them. I'm sure they're in a lot of pain.
And my husband was here getting the mail when he heard gunshots, but he's having a hard time because he just wished he could have done something to prevent it. Our community will never be the same.
Si decimos que no hemos pecado, le hacemos a él mentiroso y su palabra no está en nosotros. Amen.
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 Amen. Amen.
She loved Guns N' Roses. She loved that song, Sweet Child of Mine.
She's a beautiful little girl. I liked her song. That was her favorite song. She loved Guns N' Roses, and she would
Hundreds of thousands of people.
she would dance around her room singing "Sweet Child of Mine."
I love this country and I'm so grateful for everything it's given me and all the opportunity that I recognize I wouldn't have if I was somewhere else. That's not lost on me. And at the same time, this should encourage us to want to be better, and we're not.
You think AR should be banned?
Fuck yes. There's absolutely no reason for that.
Mind you, I have a pistol, but I don't think that a semi-automatic weapon is necessary in our country. I just don't see the need. I don't see the purpose. I think in this case, I know the bodies of the children were shredded as a result of that. What do we need that for? I don't understand it.
They say that like having those high-capacity assault rifles are the final line of defense against a tyrannical government.
Oh, please. I think we're already facing a tyrannical government when we have things like this happen. Well, there's no excuse for this. I don't care what they say. They're wrong.
Unless it happens to one of their own, then they're not going to do anything. You know. And Ted Cruz, he's a sorry person for a position that he holds. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. But we're not supposed to say anything?
No, I'm not saying that.
If he can say what he wants, I can say what I want. They just rushed in. That's their job. What, almost
Ted
an hour
Cruz,
before
dude.
they decided to do anything? No, that's unheard of. It really is.
Breaking news in the investigation to the school shooting tonight. Texas DPS is telling us the Uvalde CISD police chief has not been cooperating with investigators. On Friday, DPS Director Steve McGraw said the school district police chief was the incident commander at Robb Elementary School who made the call to wait to take down the gunman.
If they had, they would probably save several of those lives. It's ridiculous.
This is fucking bullshit. Like, this is preventable, and this is absolutely unacceptable. When we talk about how great this country is, this is unacceptable.
Unfortunately, like so many things, in a couple of more months it'll blow over like this never happened, you know?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Or even more sadly, the next one will happen. They've been happening on a pretty regular basis. Let's be real about that too.
It's going to blow over anytime soon.
Then the audacity of the people that went to the NRA Convention in Houston, for them to say that they don't need to make any changes? What's wrong with them?
Yeah. Just to clarify, I do know the difference between assault weapons and the semi-automatic weapons. There's a lot of confusion when it comes to those things. Obviously, like, and a lot of people do emit opinions about which weapons are okay or aren't okay that aren't necessarily fully informed. But you gotta also be charitable. Like, what most people have a problem with is and if you have a discussion with them, even if they're like, ban all assault weapons, if you have a discussion with them where you explain, hey, what the problem is, like, high capacity magazines, that's what matters for the mass shootings. Like, we can work on that with legislation. It's not the gun itself. Actually, the gun, because it's hard to conceal, is much less likely to be used in crime, etc., etc. The statistics show that most violent crime with guns is caused by handguns, not rifles. I also honestly, like, at some point when the guns have been used to like kill a bunch of kids, even if it's irrational, I don't know that matters that much that to like ban them. Semi-automatic is just dependent on how fast you can pull the trigger. Yeah, and there's also like confusion about that. Like, that lady's pistol is probably semi-automatic, but what she meant by semi-automatic was the AR-15s, not like semi-automatic rifles, not pistols. Which also goes into this weird psychological thing of like big gun scary, but small gun less scary. Even though small gun, once again, is the one that's actually killing the most people in the U.S. But it's also perfectly understandable that like people get polarized by those school shootings of fucking children, and then kind of ignore the everyday gang shootings, all that stuff. I think it's just a selfish take to say I prefer to have the right to have a rifle than have less school shootings. Well, I think I agree, but I think the more reasonable, like, pro-gun argument, to steelman it a little bit, is not I prefer to have a rifle than have less school shootings. It's I don't believe that there will be less school shootings just because you restrict my right to have a rifle. An argument you often hear from pro-gun people is, the bad guys will still get their guns. That's an argument you hear very often. The bad guys will still get their guns. Well, once again, like, you can see people doing mass shootings with a bunch of pistols in the end. Solution for small gun violence is different from solutions for mass shootings. Both are gun violence and have some overlaps in solution. I agree. Those are also different problems. I agree, and that's a good answer, Smite Knight. Like, for the dialogue tree of discussing this with someone who's very staunchly pro-gun, that is a good response. If they start bringing up like handgun shootings, etc., you can be like, well, we need to fix like both issues, but they'll require different approaches, different solutions. I like your response, Smite Knight. I'm gonna steal that one.